Today we're gonna talk about the mammoth Nikon Z9 and see what would happen if I use Nikon Z9 instead of my beautiful 8K Sony A1. Will it make things better? Will it make things easier? Actually, the testing has already begun. Right now I have my Nikon Z9, not my Nikon Z9, it's actually Nikon, it's going back in a couple of days, next to my Sony A1. They both have 50mm lens on it. They're both set to 1.8. They both have the same ND filter, different thread. They're both recording in 8K 10-bit 420 H.265. They both have eye autofocus turned on. Everything is equal. Also, they're recording into this external recorder just like Z6, but with Nikon Z6, the reason we recorded in external recorder was because that was the only way to record 10-bit end log and bypass the 30-minute video record limit. With Nikon Z9, 30-minute limit is gone. Now we have 2-hour and 5-minute video limit. Why? I don't know. Ask Gerald. So now let's switch back between Sony A1 and Nikon Z9 and see them side by side. I tried to match the video footage as close as they can, but one advantage, of course, A1 has is that it has anti-flicker variable shutter setting. So if this is flickering back there with Z9, and if it is not with A1, is because from what I can see while I was setting this up, is because that took care of that problem. Alright, now before we move on, let's quickly go through the unboxing and the specs of Nikon Z9. And here it is! Nikon Z9 comes in this classic Nikon box. Inside the box we're greeted with 36 Wh ENEL 18D power plant, 15 Watt 3 ampere USB-C power adapter, battery charger, USB-A to USB-C cable, Nikon Z strap to make your friends jealous, cable holders, and that's pretty much it. Nikon Z9 has 45.7 megapixel stacked full frame sensor powered with X-Speed 7 processor. Nikon says the new X-Speed 7 is 12 times faster than Nikon Z7 II. Z9 can shoot 20 frames per second, 45.7 megapixel stills in RAW plus JPEG, or 120 frames per second, 11 megapixel JPEG photos with 120 autofocus and auto exposure calculations with no blackout. It can shoot up to 1000 frames at 20 frames per second in full resolution, high efficiency RAW or JPEG fine files. When it comes to video, Nikon Z9 can shoot 4K 120 frames per second video with audio, or 8K 30 frames per second 420 10-bit H.265 N-Log, HLG or SDR internally. But if you don't want that, it also can shoot ProRes 422 10-bit up to 4K 60 frames per second internally. Z9 has a vertical grip, tons of buttons, dials, and ports like USB-C and full-size HDMI. It also takes 2 CF Express Type B memory cards, and it costs $5,500, which is $1,000 cheaper than my Sony A1. So I guess the question is this camera any good? To find out, to be able to answer that question, I use this camera as my main camera, which means I also used it for beauty shots. And here's what I did. I captured some beauty shots with Z9 and I sent that footage to my wonderful friend Jacques Slade, subscribe to him right now, and then he did some voiceover work and sent it back, and I put the footage together, add some music and stuff like that. And this is the final product.
Hey, I'm Jacques Slade, and this is the handcrafted Air Jordan 1 High. Handcrafted like the camera work you see on the screen right now. It's smooth, it's fluid, it's beautiful. The mixed colors and materials fit together like a montage of shots from the steady hand of iPhone. Do I wish I could make such art with the camera? Of course I do. Am I happy that this beautiful sneaker is getting the treatment it deserves at the hand of a criminal mastermind? Of course I am. Wait, did I say criminal? I meant cinema. Yeah, cinema. I am in no way saying that iPhoto is a criminal mastermind, but I'm not saying that either. Shout out to the legend Peter Moore for this incredible design that has lasted us all this time, from '85 to now. Who would have guessed this one design would change the way we look at sneakers forever?
Well, what do you think? Let me know in the comment section below. In my experience, using Nikon Z9 for beauty shots was very easy. It made a lot of things a lot easier. It's heavy, and on the jib, you probably, if I owned this camera, I probably would buy extra weights because I had to pull all the weights back. What's happening is my counterweight is not enough. I need more counterweight, and with the ones I have to push these counterweights as further back as I can, but then this lock gets in the way of this, so the jib cannot go as high as it normally can. Other than that, no overheating at all. These beauty shots take all day long, so the camera was on all day long and no overheating. You can leave it in standby, you can start shooting with it, doesn't matter 8K, 4K, it just works. When it comes to autofocus, if it was something that it was struggling to keep in focus, I would just change the focus mode and that would fix it. And the thing is, with some cameras, when autofocus isn't good, no matter what setting you switch to, it is still not good. This has really good autofocus, and sometimes it doesn't track or keep the things you want in focus, and you just play around with the settings and it works. So I had no problem with it. Remember to turn off eye autofocus, the auto switch between eye autofocus, because sometimes you point the camera to the shoe and it thinks it's an animal. Okay, now as you can see, it is doing the auto tracking, and I think it's thinking this shoe is an animal. So when you tap somewhere else for your own tracking, it's canceling my tracking and it's doing its own tracking. I think it thinks it's the animal because when I go to human, there's nothing. And then when I go to animal, that's when it starts happening. So it's easy to fix. You just need to get out of the auto detection mode, and now you can track as you wish, and it seems to be sticking like glue. I'm gonna start the beauty shots in a minute. That's when I'm gonna know for sure. I really like the Nikon Z9 official LUT. You just put it on the footage and it just works wonderfully. However, this camera doesn't shoot proxy internally, which is something I do with my A1. So whenever I'm shooting in 8K like this video, I also get proxy footage from the camera, so I don't need to wait for proxy while editing the video. This doesn't shoot proxy alongside the regular footage. All right, back to overheating. When it comes to overheating, there is no overheating. This camera heats up to a certain degree and it just stays there. And I was able to shoot 8K 30 frames per second for 3 hours and 7 minutes. No overheating at all. And the test ended because I ran out of battery, which also means this camera can shoot for 3 hours and 7 minutes 8K 30 frames per second video on battery. I used this 325 gigabyte pro-grade memory card, and I had to stop and format the memory card and start recording again. In that time, maybe the camera took a little break, but 3 hours is a really long time, and this camera is a champ when it comes to overheating. It's not an issue at all. Apart from its big size, this camera is also heavy. It is 1,340 grams, which is almost double what Sony A1 weighs. Also, because it's tall, with the camera bags I have, it didn't fit into the camera bag fully. This is how much the camera is sticking out from the bag. It's quite a lot, but for this bag, right now it works, but you know, sort of. Creates a little bulge. So to see what it is like to travel with this camera, what it is like to go outside and shoot, I went to the Getty Center. Okay, I'm trying to vlog with it. It's a little heavy, as you can see. But yeah, you can talk for a very little time before your arm gets tired, which mine is now, because this is the second time I'm shooting this. Okay, it's okay. But of course, since it's heavy, it's not really easy when it comes to selfieing with a camera like this. You definitely need a handle or something like that underneath it. So maybe you can bring your hand down a little bit more and carry it around facing you more comfortably. When it comes to shooting in analog outdoors, since it doesn't have an EV meter, which is something I use apart from the zebras, I was eyeballing the exposure, keeping it a little on the brighter side. Just like Z6 II, I wish this camera had an EV meter on the screen in video mode. The screen is nice and bright. I had no trouble seeing it in the sunshine. Also, it doesn't black out while you're wearing polarized sunglasses. No matter what angle you look at it, it still shows the footage. There's no blocking. In Getty Center, I also used the app to control the camera and monitor myself, which worked great, especially when you connect via Wi-Fi. One thing I realized, if you're using the camera in custom white balance mode, when you connect with your app and start recording, it gets out of the custom white balance mode, and the lag of the footage on the phone is not that bad. By the way, I wasn't planning to talk to the camera while I was at Getty Center, but while I was there, after I was done with the shoots, I just wanted to turn on the camera and speak about my experience. What I didn't think about was the minimum focus distance of those lenses I rented from Lens Rentals. So the footage is a little bit out of focus, but that's only because the minimum focus distance is a little further than how I placed the camera. I placed the camera on the desk like this. Nikon Z9 has a sensor shield. You can set it to on or off. When it's set to on, when you turn the camera off, the shield just closes over the sensor. It makes it easy to change your lens while you're outside. When it comes to the menu, I feel like every camera has its own complicated menu, and Nikon's menu is kind of complicated within itself as well until you get used to it. For example, let's say you want to change the speed of focus while you're in video mode. You probably go to the custom settings, and then we have focus here, and you try to find it there, but it is not there. What you need to do is go down to video, and because it's video related, the autofocus speed is here. And of course, everything is touch supported, and anything has this border around it means it can be touched, including in the main menu. You can touch this, change the shutter speed. You can touch this and go to this menu. However, I feel like the menu system can use a little tweaking. Let's say you're looking back at your footage and you're picking something to watch. When you click OK, it says cannot zoom into the picture. You gotta zoom in with plus and then hit OK to watch it. And if there's no information on the screen, even if you hit on display, you cannot change that. You have to be in the selection window to turn on the on-screen information and the controls. Oh, also, once the video is playing, you cannot get rid of those as well. But as usual, as soon as you figure out what's happening and why it's happening, you find your way around the menu easily. There's nothing that really stops you from using a feature. I also mounted Nikon Z9 to my overhead mount to film an unboxing video, and it did really well. The focus was right on point, but just like Z6, sometimes when it loses focus, it feels like it stops fighting for it. So you have to nudge the shutter button a little bit to bring it back to life. But I think the footage looked really well. Being able to shoot in 8K, especially if you're gonna use it in 4K project, gives you that freedom to crop in and out as much as you like without losing quality. But once again, we're going back to the size and the weight of this camera. Your overhead mount gets a little more weight hanging from it when you put this camera up there. Nikon Z9 has two CF Express Type B card slots, which is really good because when it comes to CF Express Type B, you can get up to 2 terabytes of storage, and 2 terabytes in each storage for an 8K camera is fantastic. For example, with my A1, I have 256 gigabytes of V90 Pro grade memory card, and that's the highest I can go. But of course, with a card like this, since it's not gonna go into the standard memory card reader that you may have on your MacBook or on the older iMacs or on your PC, you're gonna need a memory card reader, and that's gonna be an extra cost, but it really doesn't matter. I mean, 2 terabytes CF Express Type B is almost $900, but yes, it's an investment, but you have the option with the Sony's CF Express Type A or the regular V90 SD cards. We don't even have that option. You can put the memory card into your camera, and using the USB-C port, you can connect it to your laptop to transfer the files, which works great with a PC. On my Mac, I was able to transfer files that are above certain gigabytes. So I transferred them to my PC, from PC to an external drive, from external drive to my Mac. Keep that in mind as well. When it comes to stabilization, Z9 has IBIS plus electronic vibration reduction, electronic VR. And electronic VR applies 20% crop, and it works in 1080p up to 60 frames per second or 4K up to 60 frames per second. Anything above that, there is no electronic VR. The electronic vibration reduction is not the best. There's definitely a wobble and jiggle, if you will, when the camera shakes a little bit. I shook the camera like this for this sample shoot you're seeing on the screen, and you can definitely see how it's doing that little jiggle. When it comes to oversampling, Nikon Z9 oversamples 8K footage while you're shooting in 4K up to 30 frames per second. Anything above that, 4K 60, 100 and 120, there's no oversampling. And my friend Gerald did a test about it. You should actually check out his video. It's filled with a lot of information, and this is his test footage. For the next test, I took Nikon Z9 with Ronin RS2 to Griffith Observatory to see how they get along, to see if they play well with each other, if you will. And they did. I was able to balance this camera really nicely on Ronin RS2. I was able to mount an ND filter and a microphone. What are you doing? What? Did you have fun at Griffith Observatory? Oh, you did? I did as well. Do you want to say hi to them? Yeah, hi. Yeah, very nice. See, they get along really well. But as you can see, the lens fastener is not long enough. If you see this part, this actually should touch underneath the lens. I'm trying to show something and then you're turning away. Why are you turning away? You can't do this while we're shooting. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your heart? I'm sorry. I know I raised my voice. I apologize. It's the rush of. No, don't do that. No, look, come back, please. Z9, come on. I apologize for my behavior. You forgive me? Shake hands. Yeah. All right. Good. But as you can see, the fastener isn't really. Look at them. Isn't really touching the lens, so you may need to find a third-party piece for this. So while you're using the super smooth mode, your lens is properly mounted on Ronin RS2. Just like Nikon Z6 II, Nikon Z9 also doesn't have a notification sound when you start recording and when you stop recording, when it stops recording. It's just we have this notification here. We also have this tiny green light back here, and that's pretty much it. There's also another thing I like to show you. Right now I'm gonna hit record and we are recording, as you can see. And now I wonder if I can put both of them in the frame. When I stop recording, watch what's gonna happen on TV. Yeah, the alarm goes off telling that it's my lunchtime, but it blacks out a little bit. Stop. Okay, let's say I'm tracking this, and when I hit record, right now we're recording, everything is fine, but when I hit stop record, because it cuts off like that, it loses the tracking because the HDMI gets interrupted. I love that with the flick of the on button, I can just light up the buttons. It was such a huge help. Nikon says in 2022 they're gonna release a firmware update, and with that firmware update this camera is going to be able to record 12-bit RAW 8K 60 frames per second video internally. It's also gonna support Nikon's NRAW or ProRes RAW HQ. I say with that firmware update, I think they should also bring grouping the burst shot photos, being able to select multiple images and delete them, a shutter angle setting for the video, a variable ND, and proxy recording. So is Nikon Z9 good enough to get a Sony shooter's attention? Well, it is. It really is. Painless 8K, really good battery life, no overheating, being able to put two terabyte CF Express type B cards in there. Nice ergonomics, really good looking footage, very good photo capabilities. This is a really good camera and it got my attention. But now I have to put this back into its box and send it back to Nikon. I spent so much time with this camera to be able to give you my full experience and to be able to talk about all the plus and missing sides, and I hope you enjoy this video. But as usual, what I'm curious about is what did you think about Nikon Z9? Is this a camera you want to pick up? Is this a camera that will fulfill what you expect from a camera? Let me know in the comment section below, and until I see you the next time, take really good care of yourselves. And hoşça kalın. This camera is, let's take it from top. But that was really good. That was really good. Are you sad that we're doing another take? Don't be sad. This is good. Calm down. Calm down. Look at me. Look into my eye holes. Calm down. Okay. Phone and ND. Did you have fun at Griffith Observatory? Ready? Give me a kiss. Give me a kiss. Yeah, thank you.